And you work closely with the board-certified specialist for braces and implants. You want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, I work with the top people in implants and orthodontics. They're all board certified. I've been working with these two doctors for almost 30 years now. And so we work together very closely in helping our patients achieve the kind of health and appearance that they want.
You know, this may sound a little bit obscure as well, but when somebody is deciding to choose a dentist, they might want to also look behind the dentist and ask who they are utilizing for their bridge work, for who's actually doing the physical engineering behind what goes in their mouth. You guys have an interesting setup at your dental practice. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh, Mark is our certified dental technician, and we work very closely together. You know what's sad? I was talking to a dentist that I know in Barbados, and he said, I'm sending my lab work to a lab in Atlanta, Georgia. And the other day I got one and I had Chinese written all over the case. Unaware to him, they've been sending the work off to Shanghai and cutting their costs, and he loses all control over what the materials are and certainly the beauty. Mark is there with most of our cases when we put them in, so he can see and correct any discrepancies. That way we can really achieve what the patient wants and what I want.
And Mark is your bridge maker, correct?
Yes, he does our bridges and porcelain veneers, all our porcelain work. And we've just eliminated the need for metal in dentistry. There's been some wonderful breakthroughs, especially out of Switzerland, a material called zirconia, and we use that exclusively now under our bridges and our crowns because it's not only white, it's extremely strong.
Is zirconia like the CZ, the cubic zirconia that we hear? Is that completely different?
It's completely different, unfortunately.
Okay.
The names make it sound that way, but it's the white material that's replaced metal in dentistry, dental restorations.
Okay, wonderful. And I have actually toured the dental lab, so it's a great place. It's a place that you could feel confident that if somebody else wanted to tour it, that they would leave with confidence as well. So what would you say makes your practice unique? We've talked about a couple of these things, but what would you say makes your practice unique?
Well, let's get, like Vince Lombardi, let's get down to fundamentals. It really has to do with a thorough examination. Believe me, we see patients all the time where diagnoses have been missed. But we spend time with the patient the very first time and get to know not only them, but their mouth very well, and then help the patient understand their mouth. And that is just so important. And unfortunately, I think the major complaint that I get from new patients is their former dentist just didn't listen. We've always been good at listening. We believe that if we listen carefully enough, the diagnosis will reveal itself. It's an old principle of medicine and dentistry. And then second of all, a plan of action that takes into account all the factors of the patient that we're working with. A treatment plan might be different for one patient than it would be for another. And so we listen carefully to find out as best we can what it is that person really wants, what level of health they want to attain, or beauty that they want to attain. So a thorough examination and a thoughtful plan of action are two foundations for our practice.
And I very much agree with that. If any of our listeners want to go on to YouTube and look at the testimonials that are up there for Dr. Bentley's practice, he had a patient who has followed you for, I don't know, 20, 25 years, something like that. She's brought her family.
More like 30 years.
30 years. Okay. And, she's brought her kids, and I think we're getting close to grandkids.
She just happened to be there the day you were filming.
Yeah, and so
I said, do you want to talk to them? She said, sure, and she did a wonderful job.
She did do a great job, and very sincere, and it's amazing when somebody has multiple family members that will follow somebody for over a period of 2-3 generations. Do you have multiple generation families that happen very often?
Oh, many times.
Sure.
Yes. We've been very blessed with that. Of course, in Arizona, half the patients move away, but we get new ones every day too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. The other half move right back in. So what are some horror stories about making sure that you, I mean, we all hear these horror stories. For example, my wife needed a root canal, or she didn't even know, she needed her tooth capped. She got it capped a few years ago, and then it started bothering her recently. She got it, went in to get it recapped, and it had decayed, and the decay had gone over to the next tooth over, so she had to do a root canal on that. They put a new cap on and drilled it out, did the whole thing. 2 days later, she was infected. So we hear the horror stories. Tell us a little bit.
Goodness.
It is terrible.
Your wife needs to come see us.
Yes, absolutely. I think there's a patient coming. But tell us a little bit about some of the ways that not only you but your patients can keep the horror stories away from their life.
Well, first of all, horror stories like that, thankfully, are few and far between, at least in our practice. I don't know about others, but we try to explain to people that, you know, there is a live nerve inside a tooth, and so the sooner we can find a problem, the less chance there is of that nerve being affected. Nerves kind of make up their own mind whether they're going to stay alive or whether they're going to die, in which case, most of the time, almost always, we can save that tooth with a well-done root canal therapy. I've had many patients who've had root canals in their mouths 30 plus years, and the tooth and they are still doing just wonderfully. We really do try to help people keep their teeth, and one of the keys is regular checkups. We call that secondary prevention, so that we find problems small. If you find it small enough, even around a crown, many times we can put a little tiny white filling next to the crown and save some of the horror stories that you've recently experienced.
Definitely.
One of the things, I had a new patient the other day that came in and she said, "I need laser surgery on my gums." And I said, "Well, let's take a look." And we did, and we found some areas that were inflamed, but not as many as she seemed to think. Then we helped her learn how to really care for her teeth, and saw her a week later. When we rechecked her gums, they were in perfect condition. She no more needed laser surgery than I do. And so we see, you know, some cases where maybe the dentist needs to slow down and really help people understand that health is in their hands in many cases. I'm not saying that you patients never need surgery on their gums, but we're finding that it's really quite rare as long as people know how to care for their own mouth.
Absolutely. So speaking of care, what would you say are the top 2 or 3 things that somebody should do to care for their mouth? And you know, they might say, "I floss, but my teeth bleed." So can that be good? Tell us with some of the prevention.
Well, the only way you can construe that as being good is it raises a warning sign that something's up. Now, bleeding comes from germs, not just free floating germs in our mouth. We all have friendly germs in our mouth. It's when they're allowed to get together and accumulate and form what's called plaque, bacterial plaque, and stay there for 3 days. Stay hidden under the gums for 3 days is when you start getting bleeding. So if an area in somebody's mouth is bleeding, we need to find out why. Maybe it's a filling that doesn't fit properly, or a crown that's loose. Or maybe they just need to learn how to use the proper tools to get that clean, and that's what we always do when we see a new patient and returning patients, is we help them understand how to use the right tools and the right techniques to clean. There's something called a floss pick, but of all the brands out there, there's only one that works. There's many toothpastes, and there's only one that really does the job. And so we work with patients closely in training them with the right tools and the right know-how, so that health becomes a reality.
That's a good teaser. Now they have to come into your office to find out the best toothpaste, correct?
Well, it wouldn't matter to mention the toothpaste without the technique that goes with it. And the only way you can learn the technique is for us to show it to you, plus we'll give you a special toothbrush and instrument to help distribute the toothpaste properly into the gum. It's very simple to do, but only after you learn how to do it.
And I agree with the prevention. I mean, that's a great way to give some good advice there.
Well, if people have unhealthy gums, you can't do quality white dentistry. It just doesn't work.
Sure.
The two go hand in hand.
Is that one of the ways that you can also avoid gum surgery or laser treatment, or are there other ways to avoid that as well?
No, you bet. Daily cleaning or disorganizing of that bacterial plaque is the key. You may not be able to grow bone back, but we have several techniques that we do far short of surgery, where we think maybe sometimes bone does grow back, but certainly many times pocket areas can heal.
Okay, wonderful. I am going to give you an opportunity here. Yeah, do you have any specials for those who don't have dental insurance?
We sure do. For today's listeners, we're offering a comprehensive example of the teeth and the gums, including all needed x-rays, plus a thoughtfully designed treatment plan, absolutely free of charge. Now, we don't do that very often, but for your listeners, we're going to do that. Now, after that, there's no obligation to proceed with treatment. But also at that appointment, we'll teach each person how to quickly and easily get their gums as healthy as possible. And often they can do that in just 3 to 5 days. I really think people will be surprised at how simple it is once you have the right tools and know how to do that.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, before we wrap up, what is your website and the best way to get a hold of you?
The website is Bentley Art of Dentistry, one word, .com. Bentley is Bentley. Or they can just simply call at 480-998-9700 to get their free evaluation and plan. We're located just off the 101 on Shea Boulevard in Scottsdale, just west of Shea at 8422 East Shea Boulevard, suite number 104. And we'd be happy to meet with you and overcome the problems that you may be having with your mouth.
It's a great office, wonderful place. It's a great area of town. I would definitely recommend going on down and taking advantage of some of those specials. Dr. Bentley, I want to thank you for coming on the Social Universe show, and we hope that many of our listeners will come and take advantage of not only your special offers, but for the great care and attention that they'll get from your practice.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Kurt. I appreciate it.
You betcha.